Paul Mihova says he is honored to have served as the Zambia Army commander, and we are told he served for 7 years, probably the longest serving army commander, and that he joined the army in 1979, meaning that by the time he was being removed by President Lungu, he had served in the army for 39 years. And he joins many other army commanders who have served our country with distinction, like General Chinkuli, General Benjamin Nwenge, General Christian Tembo, General Malimba Masheke, Nobi Sembe, and Isaac Chisuzi, among others. And now, as Army Commander Paul Mihova leaves, the question that lingers is, how is he going to be remembered? Former Army commanders like General Tembo was one of the most loved in the Army. Not only the Army, but even civilians, they loved him so much because he looked after his soldiers, the officers, very, very well. So the question that is to be asked, how will General Mihova be remembered? How, when he was Army commander, how did he look after the welfare of his officers? That is very important. Apart from the fact that he did transform the Army in many ways, the fact is, how did he look after his Army, his officers? I have one case I want to bring out, and most people are not aware of this case, which is actually currently in the Lusaka High Court, which makes very, very sad reading. Because, you know, Mubanga, if you are working for me or you are working in an institution like this one, and then you commit an offense, probably a charge will have to be raised against you. You have abrogated this law, or this is what you've done, and you are going to be charged. A letter is written to you, and then maybe a disciplinary hearing is called, in which you are required to exculpate yourself. Now, in the army, in the Zambia army, we have 3 lieutenant colonels who have served this country with distinction, just like Paul Mihova himself. Paul Mihova has served this country for 39 years. And now they are among those who have been fired. One of them, in fact, all of them, the 3 of them, have served for over 30 years, 34, 35 years. And Paul Mihova, as army commander, decides that these 3 lieutenant colonels, I have their names here, Lieutenant Colonel Jack Mbewe, Lieutenant Colonel Gezani Mwanza, Lieutenant Colonel Warren Chanda, be fired. It was June or July last year. They were fired without any charge, without being asked to exculpate themselves. They are just written summary dismissal without any charge. Have you ever seen that happening? That kind of injustice happening in the Zambia army, the respected army. They are fired and they're given 7 days in which to leave the Arakan barracks under the watch of Paul Mihova. And as I'm telling you, some of these colonels are suffering without pay. They have served this country for over 30 years, and they're suffering. And now, when that happens, which name gets soiled? It's that of President Lungu. And probably the president is not even aware of such happenings in his Zambia army. Or he knows that, oh, wow, my army is operating very, very well. And you see, and when these 3 lieutenant colonels, okay, one of them is still serving in the UN, it must be Liberia or Sudan, but then the 2 were still here, decided to take that matter to court, to the High Court. And the lawyers from the army were not going there. So, in fact, it was under Judge Salasini. Then it was decided that a judgment would be entered in default. When that happened, that is when the army decided that they should go to court and challenge that. So the Deputy Registrar of the High Court gave them 7 days in which to file the defense, and that was 14th December. 14th December, this is 2 months they haven't filed in, because they know they have no grounds, because those senior army officers were fired without any charge at all. And now these people are suffering, having served for over 30 years, just like Paul Mihova, who served for 39 years. Now, is that the legacy General Mihova is leaving in the Zambia army? And he can even be very proud that I'm leaving the Zambia army having served very well, with that kind of thing, where families are suffering. And maybe this case could just be one of them, and it's also because it has been taken to court. How many others have gone quietly, silently like that, and died painful deaths because someone, for petty jealousies or something very personal, decided these guys must be fired? Not in national interest. It's different when you are fired in national interest by the president, because you'll be paid off. But if you are fired, summary dismissal without any, and you have suffered from secondary school, you decided you should join as an officer cadet, you should join the army, and someone, for something very personal, something nothing to do with work, decides that you should be fired. That is one of the legacies that Paul Mihova is leaving. And if I were Mihova, I wouldn't even be proud. I wouldn't be proud, for his name to be associated with such kind of injustice. So now, to the army commander, to the current army commander who has taken over, William Sikazwe, it's incumbent that he looks into such cases, such injustices that have been left by his predecessor, Paul Mihova. Otherwise, his name too will be so like that, the way Mihova has gone. And instead, I remember when General Sikazwe came in, was appointed, one of the things he talked about was that, he was going to ensure that there's sanitation, there's a proper sanitation in Lusaka. But then that should not be his core duty. He should look after the welfare of his officers and ensure that cases as this one that I've brought out must be handled with due diligence. Otherwise, many people will continue suffering. And these are some of the cases that the president must even be made aware of. Because when such things happen, people won't say the army, they won't say Mihova, they won't say William Sikazwe, they will say it's President Lungu. Sometimes the name of the president gets soiled unjustifiably. They attack him unjustifiably. And yet it's his people he has appointed who are dragging his name into the mud. With that, I come to the end of my analysis.
Thank you very much for making time to come through to the studio. You are still watching Prime Television's main news broadcast. We go for our last set of commercials, but we have international and sports news still to come. Stay tuned.